Hi, I'm Megan, a former TV news producer turned freelance content creator. While searching for the elusive work-life balance, I realized I had built my life around my work when really it should be the other way around. So I clocked out of clocking in and decided to take on a workload that made sense for me and my family. Within my first year, I was able to spend priceless quality time with my girls while matching my full-time salary, leaving me content to create. Now, I want to share the lessons I've learned, the tools I've used, and more than anything, I want to share the people who have helped make this happen. I'm so glad you're here. Our next guest on the Content to Create podcast is Diana Carter from Carter House Copy. She has turned into a good friend, a mentor, and I am just so thankful for her and can't wait for you to hear our conversation about all things business, motherhood, and even navigating some really tricky conversations. Let's get started. Diana, welcome to the Content to Create podcast. I'm so excited to have you here.
I am so excited. Even though it's been a wild week, I've been looking forward to this all week. So I'm so glad we could do it.
Yes. So at the time of recording this, Diana is preparing to take maternity leave from her business. So it's been wild and crazy and good though.
All good. We're excited. It's just been, a lot all at once, and our kids are sick. So, but we're making it through.
So I want to start with how you started your business, Carter House Copy. Tell me about the progression of how Carter House Copy came to be.
Yes. So that's a great question. So I started my career in marketing and communications in the HR and benefits space. So I worked for a large employee benefits consultant for about 7 years. And at the end of my tenure there, I was over the entire Eastern region for marketing and communications. The South Atlantic region, I should say, for marketing and communications. And I loved the people I worked with. I worked for an incredible organization that always took care of me and really I always worked for people who advocated for me. So I was constantly placed in people threw my name in the ring a lot is what I'm trying to say. And so I learned a lot. I got my chops in business there. I feel like I got my chops in talking to, really important people, was in the room with CFOs and executives when I was, 24 years old because people believed in me. And at the time that I left, the reason I left was because I had just gotten married and I knew that I was about to take on more responsibility with this employer and essentially make money that would be really hard to walk away from. And with this responsibility, increase in responsibility, came more travel. And my husband, Tyler, and I knew that when we had a family, it was a value that I would be able to be present with my children physically and not necessarily be having to travel. I mean, I was traveling a lot. And it felt like it wasn't going to be something that I felt like I could not do in that position once I did have kids. So I left and I pursued a job in full-time ministry. So I ended up as a social media and communications director for a large multi-site church here in the Charlotte area and did that for about 3 years. And when I left, this large corporation to work in ministry, nobody goes to work in ministry because it's a lucrative profession. I took a 37% pay cut. And we just kind of took a leap of faith, and I took a 37% pay cut, and I ended up, to continue to make ends meet and, pay our mortgage. I freelanced on the side. And so I was doing, freelance marketing consultant, freelance content creation and writing for people in the employee benefits space and from the communication standpoint, but also other clients doing marketing and, web copywriting and web development and all that stuff. And then, 2020 happened and the world shut down. I'm sure a number of your guests, I feel like, will have 2020 play a large part in their story. Yeah. 2020 happened and it just felt like the right time for a number of reasons to leave ministry because we didn't know what was going on. We had a 18-month-old or a 15-month-old, and I found out I was pregnant with my second. And I knew that we worked from home for a little bit, right? During COVID, it was supposed to be 2 weeks. And I was like, I really like this. And then 2 weeks became 2 months, and then 2 months became, 4 months. And I was like, I don't want to go back. And I loved my job and I loved the people I worked with, but I also loved having the flexibility to be with my son at the time and knowing we were about to, I was pregnant with our second. So my husband said, and I have an incredible husband who has always believed in me and always given me permission to be who I am and to try and to pursue my passions. He said, this is how much money you need to make a month. And I was like, okay, I can do it. But that's really how it all started. And it started as just me, freelancing, picking up jobs here and there. They were mostly all of them. I didn't do any marketing. They were from relationships, right? People who I had either worked with in the past and said, hey, I'm doing this thing, or we need help here, to people saying, hey, I know somebody who needs this. I know you're starting to do this now on the side, freelancing. Do you want to talk to them? And so that's kind of how it started.
Which is a perfect segue, because I feel like all of the clients that I have picked up have been the same thing, except for you. I met you because I figured out a client that you work for, that you were actually doing their work. And so I targeted you, Carrie Media. I knew that you were the copywriter behind it. And so I sent you a LinkedIn message and just said, if you ever need help, I want to be your person. Hire me.
Yes.
And I think it was more along the lines of I'm trying to figure this out. I don't know what my next step is, but I'd love to talk to you to see if there is any kind of opportunity there. And it built this beautiful, beautiful mentorship, relationship, partnership. I cannot just say enough wonderful things about. I'm so thankful I sent that very awkward
me too.
LinkedIn message.
It wasn't awkward. We should share it. Put it in the show notes. There you go.
Oh, I like that. I like that. Oh, but yes, it has been great. So networking has obviously helped both of us grow our business, but it's the relationships. But tell me about kind of bringing it on a team, because at this point in my business, I can't imagine it. And so you getting ready to step out, take maternity leave, and you have told me, who I am part of the team, and the others that are part of the team, that you explicitly trust us with your baby business. And that must be so scary.
Yes, it was. Well, bringing on a person at all was terrifying, because my name is literally on the business, right? This is actually this isn't some fun side. I mean, it's fun, right? But it isn't some fun side gig that I do for play money. It's nope, we are a 2-income family. I need to continue to, earn money for our family to continue to live our lives. And it felt scary to, as I'm not an Enneagram person, but I know my Enneagram as an Enneagram type 3, incredibly, type A personality, textbook, to start to open up my hands and release control to anybody other than me. But I knew that I was missing out on opportunity, right? Opportunity and income, and B, the flexibility that I had set out to, pursue by feeling keeping everything like this, right? I was starting to limit myself and honestly pigeonhole myself back into this. You need to do it all. It all rests on you. You need to be working 9 to 5 mentality that I left, right? And I was like, wait, this isn't what you want. And so I brought on our first contractor. I launched Carter House Copy officially, full time, I think in August of 2020. And by the end of the year, I was like, I need help. If I'm going to, I either need to say I need help, or I either need to be no. And because at that time I was exclusively taking freelance clients, probably ridiculously underpriced at the time, but I felt like I didn't want to say no to things because it felt very feast or famine. It felt like it was go, it could be feast or famine, right? Go, 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 go. You have all these clients who want you for these 3 months. And then it's okay, but now that's over those projects. So what's next? And so bringing on a person helped me be able to kind of expand my services to offer more retainer based clients that were, hey, this person is paying you X amount of months for at least a 6-month contract to do, this scope of services. And so that, because of my type A-ness, like provided some security, for lack of better words, and stability, really like predictability, stability to the income for our business, because it was what we needed, right? Like, again, it was money that our family was relying on. It was really hard, like I said, to kind of like just trust people with it and to let them go. This is my second maternity leave with Carter House Copy, because my daughter was born in April of 2021. And this time feels so incredibly different, for like in a hard way, but also in a like breath of fresh air way, a hard way, because we have more clients. We have more clients that are big hitting clients. We do more for people, and we're really integrated into the teams of the clients that we work with, myself included. And so it feels scary to step out. However, like the breath of fresh air piece of it is, like I've said to you and the others on the team, I completely trust you. And I think I even said, like, in this, absurd 20-page maternity leave planning document that I've put together for you guys, again, type A, is like, pretend I disappeared. And like I left, I actually put, and then I changed it. I actually put pretend I died and willed Carter House Copy to you. But I wrote pretend I disappeared and I will be found. but that you're in control. Like, this is now your business. And so like, feel empowered and feel supported and encouraged to make judgment calls and make decisions, because I trust you explicitly. And even if those judgment calls or those decisions are different than the ones I would have made, no one's going to die. Like, the world's not going to end. We work for and with really incredible people who understand that this is a time of transition. And I trust you. And I wouldn't continue to pour into you and to invest in you or give you opportunity if I didn't, and that goes for you and everybody on the team. And so, like, I trust you, and I need to rest in that. Like, it's going to be okay.
Oh, that's so beautiful. But I also think there are so many people out there, so many businesses, so many that just don't get this opportunity with maternity leave like you are, that they can't step out, or they don't feel like they can. And how amazing it is that you can, that you do feel that you feel like you can do that. So
yes, I feel, and it's because of the people. Like, I think, like I said, if this was a year ago, I don't know if I like could have, but it's because of the people that are on our team. It's because I have learned, sometimes through necessity and sometimes just through choosing. Like, Tyler, my husband, constantly reminds me, like, can't someone else do that? Like, why are you, like, you have a team, and he knows you guys and trusts you. Like, he's not saying that in a negative way. He's saying, like, he is constantly reminding me, like, you have a team of people. Like, when you delegate to Megan, you're helping yourself, but you're actually also helping Megan, right? Because like, Megan is working, Megan is getting hours. And so he reminds me of that. And so, I think, like I said, a year ago, I don't know that I was there, but now I am, and still scary, but I know as soon as they put a baby on my chest, like, my worries are going to go away about work,
Yes, absolutely. So, well, I feel like I kind of know the answer to this because of the way that we built our relationship and knowing who else is on the team. But I feel like our values truly align. And that's one reason that this works so well for us, because we are moms first.
Yes.
Period. Moms first. How do you go about picking someone to be on your team?
Yeah, that's a great question. I listened to a podcast. I want to say it was a Jenna Kutcher podcast, but she had this like team building, hiring type expert on, who like actually on the show. And I mean, I thought this was so amazing of this guest, and I forget her name, which I feel bad about, but she said on the show, like, here, just put my email in the show notes. And if people want to email me, I'll send them this like checklist of, and it wasn't like, hop on my list, like, now you're going to get it was like genuinely out of the goodness of her heart. She put this together and sent it out. I emailed her and she sent it to me and it was incredible. But she talks about like not hiring on a feeling, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
you can't just like someone and hire them, because I mean, there are a ton of people who I like who could say like, hey, like I'd love to help you, but it just wouldn't work out for a number of reasons. And she kind of talks about this balance between like, yes, like you obviously want to enjoy the people that are on your team and you hire, but they also have to meet a very clearly stated business need. And they have to have a very clear, not necessarily like ladder to climb, but like, here are the things that I want you to do. And like when we think about hiring and bringing someone on our team, we think, well, duh, like I would obviously have a job description. I would obviously have a list of responsibilities. But in many ways, it's so much more than that. Like, for example, with you, if we were to look at like the job description that you were brought on for, it's all very, I feel like, tactical, right? Like it's very like task oriented. However, from the get-go, I have said to you, like, voice your, like, you're not just a doer, right? Like you are a strategic mind who has a lot to bring to the table. So I don't want you to just sit there and be an order taker and do the thing that either I am delegating to you or that a client is saying he or she needs. I actually value your opinion and I actually value your brain and your input on this. And so like challenge me, challenge them, like take ownership of this. And so I think like, to answer your question, like, how do you go about like finding someone who aligns? I mean, the feeling component, you want to like the person you work with, but you also like, sometimes I think it can be trial and error, like bring someone on. And then if it blows up in your face over 30 days or like after 30 days, you're like, this isn't how I'm working, then like, it stinks to have to like have a very difficult conversation with someone and then go and find another person. But just having that initial conversation, having very, very, very clear expectations about what is expected of them. And also being really upfront about like your culture, right? Like I have said to everybody who's ever, and I've never been burned by anyone. I've never brought someone on the team. Like the first person who was on the team left to pursue other things and she was wonderful. And it was sad when she left, but it wasn't like she left on bad terms or I felt burned or it was because she was doing a bad job. Like it was just like, yeah, she's going to go do another thing and that's awesome. And we'll make it work. Being really, really clear about like your values is so critical up front. Like I even said like to you, to every person on the team, like, I don't really care when you do the work, right? I don't care when you do the work. If your kids are sick, you can tell me if you want to tell me, but like, if I don't hear from you for an entire day, it's not like I'm like, where on earth is Megan? She's not responding to emails. Like you're a person, you're a mom. We have people on our team who are not moms. They're still people who have life situations come up. They need to go to the dentist or they have a family emergency. Like we had a girl on our team who had a family emergency and for like 2 full weeks, she was kind of like basically inaccessible. And I said, don't worry about it. Like, thank you so much for telling me. Right. But this should be the least stressful thing on your like life priority list. Right. And that's really how I feel about work, is that life is stressful. I never want to be the employer or the thing on your list that you are like, I have to do that thing for Diana. Like I genuinely don't. And if you ever feel that way, I want you to come to me and be like, hey, like this sucks and I'm dreading it. And then like, let's figure it out. Right.
Mm-hmm. Well, I feel like you have been very good about that, and I'm trying to get to that word because I know that this is where this conversation is going, but about setting boundaries, not only for you, but for your team. And so allowing us to work within whatever we have said we want to work.
Yeah.
For you, it's Monday through Thursday. For me, it's like I can only be available 9:30 to 12 o'clock because that's when my kids are not here. And that's the only time I want to take meetings.
Mm-hmm.
And you respect that. And like, that's just how we work. And we've made it work somehow.
Yes.
But I feel like you are an expert boundary layer.
Boundary setter. Layer is fine too.
You are an expert boundary setter. Talk me through that.
Yes. I feel like somehow this like has been People have said that about me. And I am like, you're not the only person who says it. Like the women on the carry team say it. I've got friends who say it. They're like, hey, like, you'd be so proud of me. I set this boundary today. And I'm like, how is that actually translating into people's actual perception of me? Like, am I a jerk? And I know, but that is like, the misperception or the misconception
Yes.
rather around boundaries is that if you set these boundaries and you hold them, that people are going to think, ABC of you. And the reality is like, you can be a jerk and be a good boundary setter, but I really try to set my boundaries kindly. And it is my responsibility to hold the boundary, not you, right? So if I don't work Fridays and you're calling me 3 times on a Friday, which by the way, you've never done, but you're calling me 3 times on Friday and I answer the phone, that's not on you, that's on me, right? Whereas if I just let it be, like, that's the boundary. Obviously, if you called me 3 times in a row, I would think there was some sort of emergency and I would pick up. But the reason that I think I am comfortable setting boundaries and I am, good at it from other people's perspective is because I feel like I constantly remind myself of my values and my why, right? Like, I did not start Carter House Copy to build an empire, to have 1 million followers on Instagram, to become to somebody who says, I just had a $6 million year. My family does not need $6 million, right? Like like, we have very realistic financial expectations for our family. And we have goals, don't get me wrong. Like, we have financial goals that we are working toward. But the purpose and intent of this was never to become a millionaire. That wasn't why I left church work. That wasn't why I left corporate America. The reason I left these other employers was because I wanted to work on my terms. And I mean, at Carrie, we always say, make work work for moms, because being a working mom should work. The way that worked for me was to take matters into my own hands, dictate my own schedule, dictate what I would say yes and no to, because I wanted to be as physically present as possible with my children. So for me, that looks like you said, I work Monday through Thursday, and I do not work on Fridays. Fridays are my day with my kids uninterrupted. I mean, my email is off my phone. I'm not checking it. My out of office very clearly communicates, hey, I'll check in with you next week. And people respect that. People know that about me. And so I feel like the constant reminder, like literally in front of my face over and over again, is like, why are you doing this? Why are you doing this? It's not to become this empire. It's so I can support my family, because we're a 2-income household, and be fully present with my children physically. And I mean, sometimes I forget, right? Like, it is, you and I have talked about this personally, like with some of your other clients or some opportunities that are, coming your way. It's like, where we had a conversation yesterday about expanding your scope of work within a specific client. And it was like, yeah, that's just not really what I want. Right. And like, you were able to say, hey, like, this is, it would be a great opportunity and I can do it and I'm good at it. But at the end of the day, I have to ask myself, is that what I want? Is that what I value? And it wasn't. And so you said no, and saying no is a complete sentence, and saying no is a boundary. And you had said, even in that conversation, I'm really, really proud of myself for saying no, and I thanked you for saying no, because it gave me permission to then, go back and say no for this specific opportunity. And so I think just being mindful about that, about what your values are, and having people close to you who are going to remind you of your values and like almost hold you accountable. Like, and for me, that's Tyler, right? It's Tyler. And oftentimes it's my parents, because they know my goals, or sometimes it's you. And it's hard to say no to great opportunities. It's hard to say no to financial gain sometimes, but this sounds so cheesy and so cliche, but I remember reading this quote, and I'm sure anybody in the entire world has read something similar, but it's like, when I get to the end of my life, I'm not going to be sitting on my deathbed going, oh, I wish I said yes to that opportunity. Like, I'm going to be at my deathbed saying, gosh, I wish I had more time with the people I loved, and like my kids and my family and my friends. And so like, that sounds so dramatic and so cliche, but sometimes I have to like get to that point,
Yes.
to remind myself, like, I can always make more money. I can always
Yes.
make more money. You can always make more money, but my kids are never going to be this age. This is never going to be our life. Like this day is never going to happen again. And so for me, like, I always want to be mom first.
I love it. I love it. Running it through that filter, I feel like really does put your life back in perspective, and it makes the no's easier. If you say yes here, where else are you saying no? So if you say yes to this opportunity, you're saying no to your family. And that's been a good filter for me as well.
And I used to have on my, like in my old office, I used to have it like on the bottom of my monitor that I wrote out. And I'm sure you've seen this too, but if it's not a hell yes, it's a hell no. And we've talked about like that, conceptually before, of like, there have been times I've worked with people where there've been red flags. I knew that I shouldn't have worked with this person, but I was like, I can do it. It's a good opportunity. It may lead to this. And then those red flags, like mid contract, are, waving like crazy. And they're like, hey, remember me? Like, remember 2 months ago, this little red flag that you ignored? And so I think really like trusting your gut in that capacity to say, like, if it doesn't feel right, like, you cannot miss what is meant for you. So saying no to this opportunity here to honor your values, to honor your boundaries, isn't going to come back and bite you. But saying yes to it in spite of your boundaries or in spite of your values, because you have this scarcity mentality, 9 times out of 10, it's going to come back and bite you. And I've lived it.
Oh, that's good. That's good advice right there. Okay, so we'll go ahead and start wrapping this up. And I like to end with questions about specific to the podcast. Content to Create is the name. So what leaves you content?
That's such a great question. I think for me, what makes me leaves me feeling content is knowing that I'm not trying to carry the weight of the world on my shoulders. When I am and this is something that for sure ebbs and flows. I think, again, I say I'm not an Enneagram person. I guess I just know a lot about it because everybody talks about it. But I know that you can be one number in health, right? And you can be another number when you're not healthy. And when I am healthy and in a good mindset, I can release things, right? I can say, that Tyler will take care of that, personally in our house, right? And it's going to be fine. And even if it's different than the way I would have gone about it, Tyler can do that. And I just need to trust him. Or that mess can stay in the sink, right? Letting stuff go and not feeling like I need to carry it. Professionally, it's the maternity leave plan. You know what? I've done my best. Everybody understands it. Surely there's going to be stuff that comes up that maybe I missed. They can make those decisions and it's going to be okay. When I'm in health, I can make those, I can let things go, and that makes me feel so content. Now, if I'm in a really stressful season, or the kids are sick and there's a leak in the ceiling and the car needs to be served, and things are piling up and I'm not doing a good job of managing, then I know my tendency is I start to, it's almost counterintuitive. Why would you take on more? But I'm I need to do this. No, give that back. I need to do this because everything's spiraling. And so I'm clawing for control.
Yes.
So the contentness for me is when I'm in that healthy space of I don't need to be, I'm not the glue. I am not the glue,
Yes. I love that. Okay. And then obviously content can be read as content. So what is one piece of content you think everyone really should be looking at, reading, watching, listening to?
Oh, professional or not?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh goodness, this is so hard. Okay, so right now we are slowly working our way through, obviously, everybody else is Ted Lasso. I tell everybody, I'm if you are just I was talking to my mom and my mother-in-law about it. I'm if you can get past the F-bombs in that show, it is so wholesome, which is funny to say, right? If you can get past the F-bombs, it is so wholesome and so light and so funny. And for the longest time, I didn't watch it because I was that's a show about soccer. I'm not going to watch a show about soccer, but it has very little to do with soccer.
Yes.
And so I just tell people, give 3 episodes of Ted Lasso a chance. Jason Sudeikis does an incredible job. And so that's what I think everybody should binge watch right now.
That is the perfect answer. I love it. I love it. I love it. Well, Diana, thank you for giving me your time. I really appreciate it. It's been wonderful to talk to you on this platform,
Yes.
although I'll probably talk to you on many others today.
Yes, I'm sure.
Email, Voxer, text.
Yes.
Sometimes I'm not sure where we're having our conversations, but
I know.
But today it was on this podcast and it's been wonderful. I appreciate
Thank you
your
for
time.
having me. Thank you so much for having me. And it has been, you can edit this out if you want, but I hope you'll keep it in. It has been such a joy to work with you professionally, to see what you like, what you don't like, to see your passions grow, but also you really hone in on things. And then more than all that, just to know you and to get to know you and your girls and your husband and your family. So I'm so glad that you sent that awkward LinkedIn message that she's going to link in the show notes.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes.
Thanks for joining me today on the Content to Create podcast. If this episode resonated with you, I'd love to hear from you. Send me a message. You can find me on LinkedIn or Instagram. I have both linked in the show notes. See you next time.